All right, a few more questions here from our students in world history. Troy wants to know what public speaking skills are most important during the trial. She said writing is a big part of it, but now when you go to actually transfer that to the courtroom, what are some public speaking maybe tips or tricks that you can help us out with?
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's just something you have to give yourself grace also. It's not something that comes naturally to me. I'm a naturally kind of introverted person. I can express thoughts in front of others or whatever, and I've obviously learned to do that. But it was probably the hardest thing for me in law school, especially when you're going up against other people that you know are really prepared and really competent, and in my case, older than me and had more experience in life, and you have to convince other people that you're right and they're not. That's really intimidating to do. And then some people just don't like to talk in front of public. And honestly, I'm still like that. I don't like to be the attention in the center of a room. But to do the job that I have to do, you have to get comfortable with certain things and just understand that, one, it's your responsibility. Two, that you can do it, that if you can express a thought in writing, that it's possible for you to express that, in a way that you're comfortable with speaking, and that might just be talking slower. Like I can talk really fast. I can do that control. I used to have to write on my notes like slow down. I would literally write the word slow at the top, because if I just talked the way that I was comfortable talking, in the way that we would talk about something just in real life, that would not work in a professional setting. So it takes a lot of practice. And you can get better at it, even if you don't think you're the best at it.
So I'm hearing you say it depends on the person. Know yourself a little bit, and know what you're good at when you're speaking. Know what maybe you can improve upon. And I'm also hearing write yourself little reminders to help you along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Clayton wants to know how witnesses should respond to questions. So, for example, truth. Only answer what's been asked. Like what's the kind of protocol here?
Yeah, it probably depends on the personality of the witness and the circumstances.
Sure.
Generally, if you're talking about answering questions from your own attorney, so if this would be, I guess, Caesar talking to his attorney under direct examination, only answering the question to the degree asked is important, because you may kind of wander accidentally into things that are going to be misconstrued or sound incriminating or just are distracting from the purpose of what you're trying to do. So staying on topic.
If you're Caesar, obviously you don't want to be found guilty of treason here, right? So maybe stick to what you're being asked by your defense counsel. Because if you just start kind of going off and saying, well, I didn't do it because of this, right, that could maybe make it look like you've done something wrong or whatever. It could influence thinking about you.
Well, and it's the attorney's job to know what presentation of the evidence is best suited to defend you if they're examining their own witness. A lot of people will know that they're innocent of something or feel that they should be found innocent of something, but if they just throw every piece of information out there or do it in a arrogant way, it's not going to come across well. That's really the attorney's job, and the way that they do that is by guiding the testimony through questions. So even though it's your own attorney and they're on your side, you still want to kind of follow the direction, and also the rules of evidence require them only to answer the questions that are asked, and the other side would object if you just went on about other topics.
Or even the judge might interject too and be like, hey, just answer the question.
That can happen, yeah.
Okay. One last question from students for us here. Max wants to know if a lawyer should focus on convincing the jury, defeating the opposing side's argument, or both.
Well, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. You definitely should focus on your story, because if you're only perceived as trying to explain why somebody else is wrong, especially if you carry that burden of proof, you haven't done your job, because you need to prove a case if you're the prosecutor. And if you're the defense, you want to kind of try and break things on the other side, but you still have to kind of have a narrative or an explanation. Basically, I call it a story. Just kind of give them a simple, if there were a paragraph that could explain why you're right and the other side isn't, they should be able to do that without going into additional paragraphs.
Okay. So being concise.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Good. Lastly here, we've talked a little bit about this. We see lawyers and courtrooms in movies and in television all the time, and those are made for entertainment. It's made a lot of the time for drama or comedy or whatever it might be. So let's do a little legal myth busting here, right? So if you had to say, the one or two kind of myths about lawyers, about what it's like in a courtroom, that is pretty commonly thought about kind of among the public because that's what we see in movies and television. What would some of those be?
Yeah, I'm maybe in the minority. I actually don't like to watch a lot of legal drama stuff just because, one, I do that enough in my professional life. I don't need to do extra homework and continue to do the same thing. I like to do other things.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
It'd be like, watching shows about being in school after just being in school.
Yeah, and then just going to like fake school at home with your friends.
Yeah.
Like that. I wouldn't imagine you want to do that. And the second reason is that it's just wildly unrealistic in ways that makes me almost angry. Knowing what an actual courtroom looks like, or what most types of courtrooms look like, and then just seeing dramas on TV where, one, it's all about the attorneys. It's almost like the ego or the personality of the attorney overrides the proceeding. Obviously, there's an element to where that's important, but that's not the point of the case. And if you actually do watch even a real, even a high profile trial where it gets a little silly, like, you still will see that like these extremely famous attorneys and people with obviously like high thoughts of themselves still have to follow the rules of the court and still get in trouble if they don't fit into the mold of the proceeding and do what the judge says. It's still just common sense at the end of the day.
So kind of what we see is often highly exaggerated than it really is.
It's usually the timing and the time and place of the things that they're yelling out arguments one after another. Like, people's like, I object, how dare you, like, things like that. It's just, and then asking the judge to reconsider things they've already decided. That's my favorite one.
Oh yeah. No, you already ruled on this. You said no, I can't. Ask this question, but can I ask it still?
Your Honor, I beg that you reconsider. And that it goes on for 10 more minutes. Like, yeah, they will be found in contempt.
Maybe is the last thing we've heard that before. What is contempt? Not that any of you could actually, in our trial, be found in contempt, but I wouldn't hope you would behave that way anyway.
Nothing that's ever happened to me. That's the first answer to your question.
Good job.
But basically just a violation of the rules of decorum for the court. As an officer of the court, it's at the discretion of the judge, but it would be just continuously disregarding something the judge is asking you to do or not do. And if you continue to do that, you can face professional consequences, in extreme cases, even short-term jail consequences. Not something I really run into. Yeah, fines. Right, exactly. Just breaking the rules of court. It's like any other job or profession.
Yeah.
There's always things you can and can't do.
If you do something you're not supposed to, there might be consequences.
Yeah, you can't just do whatever you want because you got a law license. It doesn't work that way.
Good. Well, thank you, Mr. Homuth, for sharing your time and knowledge with us. For my students, I hope you've gained a lot of helpful information that will help us in our mock trial. And thanks so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good luck, everybody.